Hella fellas, welcome back to Top 5 Choices. Today's video I am gonna do a detailed review and pick the top 5 best mini PCs, 2021. After doing proper researches, we came to the conclusion that meets the best in terms of overall. Kindly leave a like if you find this helpful, and I'd appreciate if you subscribe to my channel and turn on post notifications if you haven't. We will be also providing affiliates link to purchase from Amazon. Kindly use to for best offers and purchase from anywhere in the world. We'll be back with more videos. The CXi3 is compact and light, measuring just 5.9 by 5.9 by 1.6 inches and weighing 1.2 pounds. Unlike the Asus Chromebox and other past Chromeboxes that were boxy little units, the CXi3 has curved sides, giving the chassis an oval shape when viewed from the front. The chassis is mostly black plastic, with dark gray faceplates on the front and back. The box can be used on its own, set in a vertical orientation with an included stand, or mounted on the back of a monitor using an included mount. On the front of the small chassis are two USB 3.0 ports, a micro SD card slot and a headphone jack, alongside a power button. On the back of the Chromebox, there's a Gigabit Ethernet port, 3 USB 3.0 ports, an HDMI output, a USB Type-C port and a Kensington lock slot. Our Chromebox CXi3 came equipped with an Intel Core i5 processor, 8GB of RAM and a 64GB EMP for local storage. Compared with most Chrome-based desktops and laptops, these are impressive specs and rather lavish memory allotments, given that Chrome is built to work on low-end hardware with minimal RAM and little need for local storage. But they result in speedy performance you can feel. In my tests, web browsing was snappy and responsive, and I was able to switch between 20 open browser tabs while streaming 4K video without a hiccup. At first, the small size and potent hardware of the CXi3 left me worrying about heat management. Even less powerful Chromeboxes have been known to heat up considerably for moderate workloads, but this didn't seem to be an issue for the CXi3. Even after we ran our benchmark tests and browsed several tabs worth of online content, including streaming video, the Chromebox had an external temperature of just 84 degrees Fahrenheit. We consider anything above 95 degrees uncomfortable, though that's less of an issue for desktop computers. Lenovo's ThinkCentre M720Q Tiny is a low-lying small form-factor PC kitted out for the business set. Our test model packs an 8th generation Intel Core i5 desktop CPU. CPU choices range from a Pentium Gold at the low end to a Core i7 up top. The M720Q Tiny is about the size of a hardcover book. The sturdy steel chassis should be able to take any reasonable office abuse you throw at it. Here you'll find two USB 3.1 ports, one Type A, the other Type C, along with separate headphone and microphone jacks. On back, you get full-size DisplayPort and HDMI outputs, an Ethernet jack, and 4 straight-up USB Type-A ports. Also here are 2 punch-out panels for additional connectivity, one of which was occupied in this test unit by a USB Type-C port supporting DisplayPort output. The chassis interior has a bracket for a 2.5-inch SATA hard drive or SSD. Having the ability to add more storage is an impressive feat, given the system's trim dimensions. The fan on the motherboard, pictured at right in the image above, has a directed cooling duct to exhaust the CPU's heat emissions out the side. You can stand the M720P Tiny on edge, with or without the help of Lenovo's included stand, or mount it to a monitor with an optional VESA bracket. The ThinkCentre M720Q Tiny is a fine choice for any office short on space or in search of an unobtrusive PC to power digital displays or a public workstation. At first blush, the Hades Canyon Nuke looks more like a set-top box than a desktop PC, and that's honestly a good thing. The device is interesting enough to look like more than just a plain box in your home entertainment setup while also not being too distracting if you decide to use it as your work computer. Intel's design has also seen some improvements. The old interchangeable plastic panels have been replaced by a much slicker light-up skull fashioned after the silicon that resides within. The lighting on this part of the case and all the little hard drive and power indicators are fully customizable, or you could just turn them all off for a stealthy unit. Despite this PC's small size, it packs an impressive amount of ports. Along the backside alone you'll find 4 USB 3.0 ports, 2 Thunderbolt 3 ports, 2 mini display ports, HDMI 2.0 and even 2 Gigabit Ethernet ports. That's more connectivity than you'll even find on some full-size desktops. Cracking open the Hades Canyon Nuke is a breeze, as it just requires undoing 6 Torx screws and a single Phillips head. With the top cover removed, you can access the computer's memory slots as well as the M.2 and SATA drives. The discrete class Radeon RX Vega graphics are every bit as impressive as Intel and AMD promised. We can play all our favorite games, including Far Cry 5 and Warhammer, Vermintide 2, at a steady 60 frames per second, FPS, with high-quality graphical settings and a 1080p resolution. Even more impressive is that the little PC holds its own through Overwatch and Hitman at 1440p with HDR active on a Samsung CHG70 QLED gaming monitor. The model I'm reviewing is Intel's reference design, which is also available to shoppers. But Razer, for one, has already shown off its larger Tomahawk gaming PC based on the Nuke 9 Extreme platform, and other Intel partners are expected to reveal their own. A few case makers, Cooler Master and Silverstone, have also exhibited their own PC chassis designs for the Nuke 9. So the Nuke 9 platform is inspiring the interior componentry, but it will look different on the outside and other implementations. Modularity, though, is the key common theme of the Nuke 9 Extreme. The two-part kit consists of the chassis, which holds the internal power supply and the baseboard logic board, as well as the unique compute element. The latter is the brains of the operation, connecting to the baseboard via a proprietary, PCI Express-like connector. Essentially a mini motherboard that looks a lot like a chunky graphics card, the compute element holds the CPU, 2 laptop-style SO-DIMM memory slots, and 2 M.2 storage drive slots. The CPU is soldered to the board, so upgrading it means buying a new compute element. The compute element in our review model is Nuke 9 i9QND, featuring a Core i9-9980HK processor. The 8-core, 16-thread chip is Intel's flagship Mobile H series CPU that would typically see duty in high-performance notebooks. The Intel Nuke 9 Pro is substantially bigger than previous Nuke designs, with a boxy mini tower setup that toes the line between mini PCs and small form-factor desktops, much like we saw in last year's Asus ProArt PA90 workstation review. With grills on both sides of the compact chassis, this 9.4 by 8.5 by 3.8 inch desktop is made for performance. However, where many of the smallest desktop PCs rely on mini ITX motherboards, the Intel Nuke 9 Pro uses Intel's new compute element, a cartridge-like enclosed board that contains the motherboard, processor, and other internal components. But where the Nuke 9 really diverges from previous models is the ability to add a discrete graphics card. In our case, that's an NVIDIA Quadro P2200, a workstation GPU that offers plenty of muscle for things like media editing and rendering complex models. It also features a case that can be fairly easily opened, provided you have a screwdriver. Remove a couple small screws in the back and you can slide off the top cover, and then remove the vented side panel for access to all of the internals. Additional storage can also be accommodated in the larger case. The Nuke 9 Pro has both dual M.2 slots for drives, MC connectivity for a discrete graphics card up to 8 inches in length. Like a traditional desktop tower, the Nuke 9 has most of its ports on the back of the system, complete with slots for the additional ports afforded by the GPU. The Intel Nuke 9 Pro seems less like Intel's take on the Apple Mac Mini, which is what defined many of the early Nuke designs, and instead looks like an attempt to wed the Nuke concept with the most extreme small form factor systems. The result is a potent workstation-class desktop crammed into 4.92 liters of physical space, offering more power per inch 3 than any other desktop we've seen. That said, the Intel Nuke 9 Pro case is really only suitable to the Nuke, and it would take a dedicated enthusiast builder to assemble the same components in such a compact case. If you're more interested in owning a tiny but powerful PC than building one, this is definitely the better way to go.